My name is Rachel Ketchkaish. I live in Helena, Montana, and I just wanted to make this video to share my journey back into symphonic playing after a very long break and how I went through this whole process and good practice techniques and just audition techniques that I have used and that have worked well for me. So the first step was I just needed to pick the symphony that I wanted to audition for. Like I said, I live in Helena, so I had several to choose from. These three are the main three that I was considering at the time. So Helena does have its own symphony, the Helena Symphony. Butte also has a symphony, and Great Falls also has a symphony. And these were the ones that were closest to me. So proximity was definitely an issue because I was going to be driving to rehearsals, presumably once a week and driving to performances. So picking something that was close was important. And then it came down to looking at the audition requirements for each one. So when you're looking at these symphonies, if you go to their websites, usually there's going to be an audition page. So on that audition page, it's going to say, for viola, this is the audition material, or, for whatever instrument you're auditioning with. So when I was looking at the audition materials, the Butte Symphony was the one that stuck out the most to me in terms of what I thought I'd be able to achieve with the amount of time that I could dedicate. So I decided to go with the Butte Symphony and to prepare their audition and book an audition with them. So for the Butte Symphony, you pick your own repertoire. You pick a piece to perform for the director in the audition, and then you're also given some sight reading to do. So for the picking my own piece, I wanted to pick a song that I really enjoyed playing, and I had a piece that I had worked on during undergrad called Après un Rêve by Gabrielle Fauré. I had already worked it up, but I mean, this was, 10 years ago at that point. So it definitely needed to be dusted off and worked on a little bit more. But I did have the foundation with this song, so I decided to bring it out of the closet, as it were, dust it off, and try and get it working for me. So I had the piece picked out, and at this point, I just needed to get my practice regimen back up and running. So it's important to be consistent with practice. So if you cannot consistently practice for 2 hours or 1 hour a day, pick an increment of time that you can work with. Half an hour, 45 minutes, even 15 minutes. 15 minutes is better than nothing. So I I very conscientiously made time, wrote it into my schedule. This is when I'm going to be practicing, and stick to it. It was also very important to me that I had a deadline. I did actually have an audition date. So, you have that line in the sand, and if you have that date, then that's the deadline. You've got to have it ready by then. So, that was important to me to have that end goal in mind. It's also important to remember to not burn yourself out. If you're working on a piece to get it performance ready, you're just playing it over and over and over, and you've invested hours into this piece. So, what I did to avoid burnout with myself was I had several other pieces that I was working on at the same time. So, I had some Bach pieces that I really enjoyed that I would just kind of sprinkle into my practice sessions, or I have a lot of other old songs, like old fiddle tunes and things that I've just played for years that I just really enjoy. So during your practice sessions, it's important to not let yourself get burnt out. So I would encourage you to sprinkle some little treats in there for yourself. Let yourself play something else that you really enjoy for 10 minutes and then go back to the work. Give yourself a little coffee break. I would also very much encourage recording yourself when you're practicing, and to perform for people when you can. So when you record yourself, and this is a technique that I've used for a very long time, it allows you to listen in a different way than when you're playing. When you're playing, you're concentrating on so many different things. But if you record yourself and if you sit down and listen to the recording, you are going to hear things that you had no idea were happening. You're going to hear problem spots that you didn't know were problem spots, and it's really going to up your game. I would also encourage video recording if you can, so that you can actually watch yourself play and see the physical techniques that you maybe don't realize that you're doing. So I would definitely encourage that. Also, if you can perform for, family members or your boyfriend or your grandma or your girlfriends, whoever you can get to listen to you, I would definitely encourage that because practicing performance in front of people is going to give you more opportunities to work through that little bit of performance anxiety that you're going to get, even if these are people that you know very well and you don't really, you know, the, you're not really that nervous because these are your friends, but the amount of anxiety that you get is just a little bit, and it's going to help you, baby step into the actual performance anxiety you'll feel at the audition. So I would encourage that. So when the day of the audition does actually arrive, I know it's easier said than done, but just try and relax. Give yourself a day, give yourself the audition day, and try not to plan too much else for that day. Block it off. Don't put too many things on there. Relieve your mental workload. Just be thinking about the audition. Give yourself time during the day to practice before you get there. Get yourself warmed up earlier in the day. Make sure you have plenty of time to get to the audition. Have a full tank of gas in your car if you're going to be driving. Make sure your instruments packed up. Bring a music stand. Just little things that you can do to make sure that everything's going to go smoothly. Get there in plenty of time. Get your instrument unpacked. Take your time with tuning. Just get yourself calm in that space. Give yourself a little bit of time to decompress, get used to the space that you're in, hear the acoustics, just kind of settle in. Everyone experiences performance anxiety differently. Some people, your hands go cold. Some people, your hands get hot and sweaty. A lot of people will shake when they have performance anxiety. Your mind can kind of feel like it's going blank and you can't remember the first note of your song, things like that. And it's important to build the skills to deal with performance anxiety. I don't know if it's ever going to go completely away. It certainly hasn't for me, but you just have to figure out how to deal with it. Know what you're going to be feeling, anticipate it, visualize the performance going well, visualize yourself succeeding. Those are all great tools for dealing with performance anxiety at the actual audition. Now, presumably, your audition will go swimmingly, and you will now be part of the symphony. And the next stage of work is about to begin. So, some of the things that I did to set myself up for success as a second time symphonic player, it was really important for me to get the schedule well ahead of time. So, usually symphonies will have the entire season scheduled out. You know when the performances are basically for the whole season. You're going to know when dress rehearsals are. You're going to know when weekly rehearsals are. Get those into your calendar as soon as you can. Rearrange your dentist appointments or, whatever work schedules or childcare schedules that you need to rearrange well ahead of time so that you don't have to stress about it. I would also encourage carpooling if at all possible. That's been a real game changer for me. It alleviates the gas expenses, the wear on your car, and it also helps you build great relationships with other people in the symphony. So it's definitely a win-win. Usually you can get music beforehand as well. So before the first rehearsal for your next concert, usually you're going to be given some, if not all, of the music. So make time to practice ahead of that first rehearsal. Try and get your hands on some recordings. I have found basically everything that I need on Spotify, and if it's not on Spotify, it's going to be on YouTube. So before every concert, I make myself a Spotify playlist that has all of the works that we're going to be performing, and I can listen to it, while I'm cooking or while I'm walking the dog, just so that I start to internalize these pieces. I also tend to practice to recordings just because it's more interesting for me. As a violist, we're usually just doing harmonic stuff and not really getting to play melodies all that often. So playing along to recordings just makes practicing that much more gratifying to me, and I would definitely encourage that. I would just want to stress that the most important part of this whole process is that you enjoy it. You know, the reason why you're getting back into symphonic playing is because it's fantastic. It's one of the best musical expressions that you're going to be able to achieve as a group. You know, there is nothing that compares with symphonic playing for me. I absolutely love it. I missed it terribly when I wasn't doing it, and I am so glad to be doing it again. And I just hope that my sharing this with you and making this video is going to make it seem a little bit more achievable for you in the future. So, hope these strategies work for you to get back into playing. Thanks for listening.